Okay, welcome back to our next session here. We're going to get into the writing here a little bit. And the first thing that we want to talk about is choosing your book topic. Okay, maybe it's going to be one of those 5 buckets. Maybe it's going to be something else, but this is important. This is an important first part of it. Okay. My initial book, like I said, that I began to write was this book called The Process of Promotion. I actually originally called it Obscurity, which I'm really glad I changed the title because this is way better. Okay. It's way catchier. But when I originally wrote this and was going to release it, the literary agent, which I'll talk about later on, um, say, hey, this is an important book. It's a great book, but you don't have enough of an audience. You don't have the right audience yet to really be able to sell it. And I felt like that was good wisdom at the time, and I paused. So it's going, okay, maybe you've got a book in you right now that's for a later time. It's important to know that. Do you have the influence right now? Do you have the voice? Do you have the credibility to write on that topic yet? Um, maybe you will. Maybe you're in process. It's okay to write a book along the way as long as you don't pretend like, if you're writing a money book, don't pretend like you're, a multimillionaire if you're not, right? Just give them what you know, teach them what you do know, what you have success, you have created. So I think that's important. Um, the this whole process of identifying my topic, part of that is then the first book that I actually ended up releasing was the Following Jesus book, and this has sold near 500,000 copies, almost 500,000 in different languages and different parts of the world, and it's been good. It's been an incredible journey to see my first book released actually do so well. That's not always common. Some of my other books I've released have gotten, done really well, and some of them have gotten moderate, or cricket level engagement. You're like, all right, well, I thought that would do better, but it didn't. Part of that is knowing what is the focus, right? So this has a somewhat of a broad implication in the sense that this is for people who are newer to Christ, right? They just decided, okay, I'm going to follow Jesus. What the heck does that mean? 7 essentials, 7 principles, right? So this could be good for a lot of people, but it's not for everybody, right? So this has got a niche that might be good, it might be bad. One of the books, I believe it was the next book I released after that, was called Preaching Forward. This is for preachers. So again, quality content, needed topic, but again, it's a smaller group. This is even a smaller niche. Those who feel called to preach and teach in like a Christian ministry sense, that's a narrow audience, right? So that could be good because maybe it's needed in that genre, or could be others. One of the books that's getting some really good traction is this small, like, family devotional, right? 52 Bible verses to teach your children. Actually, I just changed. I haven't, don't have the updated copy yet. I changed it to teach your kids instead of children. Man, this is getting a lot of noise out there because this is a niche, but it's a broad, it's a massively desired kind of goal and topic for people. This is a real kind of fun, broad one. It's a niche in the sense of it's for Americans or people who love America or live in America, and it's coffee table vibes. It's going to be more expensive. It's maybe going to price out some people. But it's going to be a fun book, right? And it's going to be a tabletop or mix it with great photos, and that's a great deal. So, how do you pick your topic? I think one of the reasons why this did do so well is actually, in this one, I can't take the credit. I stumbled into, I believe by God's grace, I stumbled into a massive niche, and a niche that had a gap. Okay. So within the church world that I'm in and that I was writing for, I all of a sudden I found out that, man, there's a lot of churches who needed a resource like that, have been looking for a resource like that, couldn't find anything they really, really loved. Usually things were too long, too complicated, too technical, too theological, you know, too specific to one movement or another. And so when I released this book, initially I was just going to release it as a blog. And I would just chat with some different pastors, and they're like, man, when you're done with that, let me know. I've been looking for something like that. I started hearing that enough times. I was like, wait a second, maybe I have something here. Maybe this is a need. Maybe this is going to be a niche, that people really are looking for. And it has been, right? This was a book. Initially, I self-published it through Amazon, which I'll talk about later on in that session. But I initially published it, and then a year later, a publisher who's now my publisher got a copy of it, wanted it in their kind of catalog of books and resources, picked it up, and it has been unbelievable in its ability now to expand and reach and serve its audience really, really well. And it's got a growing audience every single month. We're adding more and more readers, more and more churches who are distributing it. So this one is done really, really well because not only is maybe the content good, and strong and simple, but also because it is a resource. This isn't just a topical read like this one is, where, I'm selling one off to an individual user. This one I'm actually selling in bulk to an organization, to a church that is then distributing them, right? And so that is where this one has become a real, real strong resource in that way. And it's a residual type of a thing. So this has been incredible, and it's unique. So I knew that not all my books are going to be like this, because not only is this something that churches buy in bulk to distribute, it's also a residual thing, because new people keep coming to their church. And our church, we do this at our church as well. New people keep coming, and they need a resource to give. So you give them the Bible, and then you give them a copy of this. And every quarter, churches need more of them, right? So you may find a niche like that. You may have something in your world, go, okay, how could I serve an audience? Is there something in your world right now that you can speak into that is going to become a residual type of need where they're going to keep needing to hand out your book and resource? If not, it's all good. Maybe you'll find that along the way. You may have other books that are more specific and topical. Now, these I'm kind of myself as a writer, as an author, I've kind of got into more of the resource type of zone, training zone. So both of these books are also, even though they're a little bit more one-off purchases, these are also books that I have courses associated with, and that leadership schools or Bible college or programs will teach their classes. So they're going to buy 20 at a time. They're not buying at the rate of this other book, the Following Jesus book, but they're buying them there. Now, also, we can talk about an audience, because I found that I was able to really engage and serve an audience with this. Now, part of this is also why I started these other series. So this book to teach kids, parents love it and they're buying it, on Amazon and other settings as a one-off, but also my publisher picked up this book as well. So now this is going to become one of those resources that a church may say, hey, I want to buy these for all the kids in my kids ministry. I want to give this out when they get a new guest, or when a kid gets saved, or when a child gets baptized or dedicated. This is going to be a gift and a resource. So that can be another thing when you're choosing your topic. Maybe you found an audience. Maybe salespeople is your audience. Maybe moms are your audience. Maybe entrepreneurs are your audience. Doctors, medical field is your audience. Fitness people, it's your audience. You may find that you find a vein that you can just start hitting, right? You can just start serving that audience by choosing the topics. Okay. So, one of the things that is important is to clarify your audience. Sometimes you may have a book that is broad, but I find that a lot of times the more specific you can be, the more effective you're going to be. Okay. So don't make everything just totally broad terms, broad audience, broad concepts, big out there, because then it's like, okay, when you go to market your book, who are you actually trying to sell your book to? Who is the niche audience? Now, some topics are going to lend themselves to be broader than others, but the more specific you can be, actually, the more effective you can be. Okay. So consider that as you're choosing the topic. But I would say, in a general sense, for you as you're wrestling with the topic, probably if you're taking this course, you've already got a topic or a book you've either started or an idea, or somebody told you you need to write that into a book. And so you're like, I don't know what to do. Now I found this. Okay. Um, but for some of you, don't overthink it. Usually, the book you need to write, the concept you need to write, is just literally what is very intuitive to you. That thing you think is so easy and so obvious and so natural, so normal. It's normal, natural, obvious, easy to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that other people instinctively know how to do it, right? So obviously, I created a course around writing a book. Why? Because the more I wrote, the kind of success I was getting with that, people started asking me, okay, how do you write a book? What do I do? How do I get started? So here I am. I'm serving my audience. I'm creating a resource that's going to help, that's going to get you started, that's going to get you going down the field. And I've got other, coaching where I will specifically coach an author, right, through the writing process. That's a different, scenario. It's a different coaching opportunity that you can, reach out to directly if you want to talk a little bit more about that once you've worked through this course. But usually we can undervalue the thing that's easy to us. And so we don't even think to write about it. We don't even think to go after it. But I want to encourage you, begin to go after it. Now, you may have one book idea that's just burning on the inside of you, or maybe you've got multiple, and that's okay. I've got about 3 or 4 books right now that I'm kind of working on, tweaking with, writing. I'm going to talk about outlining your book in the next one, but literally, before I got started with this, I was just sitting in my car listening to a different audiobook, and I was working on a concept, and I fleshed out a pretty strong outline to a book, which I'm going to get into that process here in a little bit. But as far as choosing your topic, it's important to know, who do you have natural influence with? That's what I would be thinking about too. Who wants to hear from me? Okay. Now, part of how you're going to develop that or know that might be, um, from the 5 buckets concept as you're writing about. What do people love that you write about? What are people looking you? What do people keep asking you about? What do they keep asking you to help them with, right? Look for those natural clues. Those are going to be the things you can begin to write on, and you begin to find your audience. Sometimes releasing a book is going to be because you have this specific audience, and then sometimes releasing a book is going to build a specific audience that comes back to you. Some of the reasons why I started writing more around preaching and communication is that I found that on my YouTube channel, I just started getting a lot of response and input related to content that I was writing in that space, or producing, or videos, or resources. So go, hey, people are valuing it. People are thankful for it, appreciating it, finding it helpful, finding it serving them. Okay, well, let me write more on that. Let me produce more on that. Let me develop more content. Let me write a book, produce a course, create checklists, create downloads. I want to keep serving those people that are coming, that are finding value in my content. Okay. Don't worry about people who don't like your content. Don't worry about people who don't want to hear from you, who downplay your value, your voice, your message. Who cares about them? Serve the people that love it. Serve the people that are coming to you and coming to your content. Okay. Hopefully that helps a little bit in the area of choosing a topic, beginning to find a niche. What you might find too, like myself, the more I've written, the more I find what people respond to, the more zeroed in I'm getting on books, resources, right? Like this series, right, that I'm developing. 52 verses for youth. My publisher just commissioned me. I just finished writing. It's in design right now. 52 verses on hope, right? So that's going to be, I'm going to create a series of those and continue to serve the audience. Okay. Find a book title, and I'll talk about shaping. You don't have to have your title all 100% dialed in. Like I said, I had a different title for this book up until I started designing the cover. I was literally gonna call it Obscurity. We started designing the cover, and I was like, "That's a crap title. It doesn't design well, doesn't look good." Came across this concept, and it literally transformed the book, and it's way more enjoyable for people to wanna get a hold of and grab onto, and that matters. But as you're identifying the topic, it's more about, okay, who's my audience? Who do I want to serve? Who responds naturally to me when I'm producing content?